Hello everyone. So the philosopher that I chose to present on was Jacques Rousseau. I have John Locke up there too because there will be some references to John Locke's ideologies about education as well as other ideologies that he had that were either similar or different to Rousseau's. But here we go. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, he's Genevan. He's a Genevan philosopher. He was abandoned by his father at the age of 10. He was raised by his uncle. And throughout his childhood, he read a lot of sermons or spiritual texts. Rousseau as well as Locke, they both touch on private property. I'm going to start with John Locke. John Locke, he wrote the Second Treatise of Civil Government, in which he touched on private property and how the ideology that there pretty much essentially is no such thing as private property, that God gave the world to Adam and to mankind as a whole in common, so that because God gave the world to us in common, there's not one person can own something because it's given in common or in nature. An example of that would be like, perhaps we were at a pond, and because the pond is in nature, it wasn't created by a specific person. The pond was created by God in nature. Then no one person has ownership over that pond or the things that inhabit the pond. So if we were to go fishing and we catch fish, those fish do not belong to either one of us because it derives from a pond which was created in nature by God that was given to mankind as a whole, not one individual person. So that's where John Locke stands on private property. Rousseau stands where he believed that, well, he touched on it in the social contract, but in also the ideology of private property, where he felt as though, yes, the pond was given to us in nature, but if one person, a man, so puts their work into something, that turns the ownership from common property to private property. So for example, if we were at the pond and we were fishing, and because I put my work, my time, and my own labor and effort into catching fish, then that in turn makes the fish my own private possession because I put a piece of myself into catching the fish. So that's where they differ, and they're similar and differ in the ideology of private property. But then we can move on to the ideologies of education. John Locke, as I said, was an English philosopher, and he believed that children's minds were a blank slate, and that the adults in society, they were in charge of creating an enriching environment for children to learn, that it was their responsibility. And he also believed that heredity was unimportant, so it didn't matter where you fell on the class pole or the hierarchy of socioeconomic status, that all children had equal ground and equal footing. All children had the ability to learn. So with Rousseau believed that the moral development of children is the utmost of importance. His ideology definitely derived from him as a child reading much text that had to do with sermons and spirituality. So he believed that the focus of education should be how children should be developed into moral beings and have a love and care for humanity as a whole. He didn't really emphasize in reading. He felt that reading could corrupt children's minds, and like influence on things such as city life or things that aren't about the development of children morally can corrupt children's minds. And so that's pretty much Rousseau's ideology of education. He felt that the focus should be on children's moral development. They should read texts, enriching texts that emphasize how to become a good human being and work and live in a society that is sustained and cares about humanity as a whole. I think Rousseau's ideology is definitely prevalent in society today because every person wants their child to be a moral being and have moral characteristics. So that's the presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.